Hi, my name is Nick Gold. I'm Managing Director at Speakers Corner and former Chairman of the European Association of Speaker Bureaus. And me and the team, we take great pride in putting in some of the greatest speakers in the world into events here, far and everywhere.
Hi, I'm Sahar Hashemi and I am a lawyer turned entrepreneur. I started Coffee Republic, the UK's first coffee bar chain, and I've written 3 books. The first, Anyone Can Do It, to dispel the myths around entrepreneurship. But my third one is called Startup Forever, how to behave like a startup in a large organization.
January 2006, remember that?
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, that's how long, 11 years, coming up to 11 years now. You are like the establishment of the speaking industry. You are like the doyen of the speaking industry.
When we met, yes, I remember doing something for you. Do you remember that was a bit off the wall? It was about sustainability.
Yes.
But that was not.
That wasn't the first one. I think the first one was the story.
Yeah.
That long ago, how did you fall into it, get into it? What happened?
Right, so how I got into the speaking world, Nick, is I remember when I left Coffee Republic, I never really knew I had become an entrepreneur because, when I was starting Coffee Republic in those 5 years, the word entrepreneur didn't really exist. We didn't really have that many entrepreneurs. I mean, I think there was Richard Branson and then like Anita Roddick, and that was just about the 2 of them, and there was nothing about it, there were no books on it, and I think when I left, there was just a bit of a sort of vacuum in my life, and I was incredibly bored leaving Coffee Republic and very sad as well. And I remember someone said write a book, and I was like, kind of, what do you mean write a book? I can't even write a thank you letter. How can I write a book? And it was an incredible, actually 9 months I spent writing Anyone Can Do It, and that was the whole idea that, well, if I did it, anyone can do it, and that myth of entrepreneurship being some special chromosome was rubbish. Yeah, and I remember doing my first ever speech at London Business School. And it was really the white knuckle speech. I mean, I was terrified. I was always been terrified of speaking.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember I had a party for my 21st birthday and I was meant to get up and say something, and I just couldn't say a single word. And although I was actually a lawyer, I was meant to be a good speaker. I was terrified of speaking. But I started, and that sort of really was how it got going. And I realized, God, I actually love doing it, and I love telling the story, and I love passing the lessons. And then it sort of evolved.
In terms of telling your story as an entrepreneur, how have you adapted and changed your topics and speeches to coincide with what you're learning, I suppose, in your business life?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the beginning was very much, no one spoke about entrepreneurship. So when I wrote Anyone Can Do It, the fact that we actually told the story of what the story of starting a business is, and it was the sort of really the first book of its kind to come out, which is why it became this sort of cult book and a huge bestseller. But then I would tell the story of entrepreneurship. So maybe for the first 3 or 4 years, it was all about tell the story, and oh my God, from an idea to actually a business with 100 stores, this is how it happens. And then slowly, I remember, and every time I go, Nick, to corporates, sometimes if they wanted a great story, so they would get me as a sort of motivational speaker to tell a great story. The joke would be, oh gosh, but we don't want everyone to leave and start a business, and that was constantly. And then slowly they started getting me more and more, and they were like, actually no, we need you to tell people about your story because there are just so many lessons here from the way people need to think. Whereas now actually what's happened is the world of a startup and the world of a large corporation are exactly the same, because the sort of crosswinds of digital disruption, this extraordinary pace of change of consumer behavior is actually doing something there. So now startups and large organizations are actually operating in the same environment. I think that really is the golden future, whereby a large company behaves in small units just like a startup, with complete focus on the customer, everyone agile, experimenting, trying things, not being afraid to fail.
Do you think there are key traits of being an entrepreneur these days?
Yeah, I think, the linchpin of the traits is empathy with customers. I always tell my story because I started as a customer myself, and I used to think, well, if I want coffee bars in the UK, why isn't someone else opening? Because I'm the customer. I didn't realize being the customer was actually the best place to start, because that's how you really see where the opportunities are. That's where you see the problems, the gaps. I mean, it's only in the shoes of a customer that you really see what the market needs. And so that's really key, I think. And the problem in large organizations is people get further and further away from customers. It's almost becomes quite transactional. And this is what I find working with you guys. I think you've got a very close relationship with customers. You really know what they need, what sort of speaker they need.
So my guys, the team, we take massive pride in terms of helping the client work they want to work, giving them the information they need in the right way, and caring about them. And I think kind of more and more in this digital world and this phone world where actually you don't spend time with people face to face, how do you make those connections is massively important for any business to survive. And I think we take great pride in giving that to clients. And I think it's tough. I think it's really tough. But it's about the people you have.
You make a really good point there, Nick, because I think people think, empathy with customers is something just good for business. But actually, what's more motivating than, rather than treating them like commodities or people that are just going to pay you and quite transactional? Surely, when you come into work and you really are stepping into their shoes and you really understanding what they need, surely that's where you get purpose from what you do, isn't it? You have the fun, because otherwise it's just something that kind of a robot can do, and no one wants to work in that environment. And I think when you really step into those shoes, that's where creativity comes in. Because
are you feeling positive about business? Do you think the landscape, not from an economic perspective, but I suppose from a leadership perspective, is looking good, and we've got the right people from, I suppose, as well as the smaller companies, but also in the bigger areas, who can take us through the revolution that's going on right now?
I am incredibly positive, actually, about the current climate in business, because I think, yes, the challenges are huge, and the pace of change really is just crazy. But so are the opportunities, and I find this new way of everyone having to act like a startup, much more like a startup. In a way, it takes the myth away, because before I used to have people in big companies saying, "Oh God, I always have a dream of having a startup."
Yeah.
Whereas now it's actually completely available to you. And companies, traditionally, the thing about large organizations is they were made almost under command and control, because that's how it had to work, and you're thousands of people, you're not 3 people, so you have to have certain chains of command. But the beauty is they can't operate in that dry, slow way anymore. I worked with L'Oreal quite a few times, and they're a $1 billion company, but they still have the challenger status. And they say you've just got to be very vigilant about the culture, and really, it's the two sides, the entrepreneurial versus the corporate. But you've got to always be vigilant to make sure one is not taking over the other. You need a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think my 3 pieces of advice is, one is my motto, which is leap and the net will appear. And by that, I just mean you just got to go for it. Life's far too short to sit there thinking, shall I not? Just go for it and see what happens, I think. The second one is actually kind of this new word that's becoming quite big, is curiosity. And I think before the question was, am I creative? But this wonderful thing I heard is, don't ask am I creative, ask am I curious.
I like that.
And it's about being curious. And that's where you see, because so much is changing. I spent all morning at kind of YouTube seeing, these vloggers and how they do everything.
Yeah.
And God, there's just so much for us to take in. And so it's just this wonderful world for us to learn a lot. And the thing about curiosity is, going to my third one, is curiosity only bubbles when you're out of your comfort zone. Because if you're in the comfort zone, there's no reason to be curious, because you're doing what you did yesterday. So when you're out of your comfort zone, it's about learning. And I think it is true, that quote, that if you're 20 or 80, when you stop learning, that's when you get old.
I love the curiosity point, because I think more and more we live in this age where actually people are appreciating that no one has an answer.
Exactly.
So for me, when you're standing up on stage, or any of our speakers standing on stage, all you're doing is you're giving a point of view and you're giving ideas, and then the audience can take those ideas and they can form their own opinions, because they have as much right and choice and knowledge as you do. So all they're doing is taking what you're saying and saying, okay, this is someone with a particular experience. Let's take her ideas, let's take other people's ideas, and let's form what we want to do, and let's find out more, and then we can be an entrepreneur in our own rights and enjoy what we're doing every day.